Baja. Wanted to just kind of recap that end of that Catalina trip. I had a really good time. We left late morning and sailed out of Two Harbors. Prepped the Jenniker, which I have in a sock, and hoisted that and sailed most of the time, I think 8 hours straight of just wing on wing. Our destination was dead downwind, DDW. I sailed off of that a little bit, so ended up jibing once. Asila says it looks like I've been sailing a lot longer than a few days here. I got soot from the stovetop on my face. Look like a savage. Well, we're a few hours from port and it's been a really nice sail. I only jibed once and I probably won't make another move. I won't jibe again until I'm just gonna bring down the sails when we're right off the Oceanside Harbor and then motor in. Yeah, it was it. It's beautiful. Good times. And Asila had school the next morning, her first day of high school, first day of 9th grade. So I didn't want to get in too late. Our ETA was looking like 11:30 p.m. At the rate we were sailing, which later in the evening was slowing down into the low fives. And when it looked like it was going to drop into the fours, I dropped the Jenniker and motored the rest of the way, but we got a really good sail in that day. Yeah, Sela just read books and napped, and at one point I tried to start up the Starlink, but it recognized we were offshore and wouldn't let us connect, which is fine. There is an offshore package, which is I think $250 a month, so it's not a big deal for me right now. So some of the lessons from that trip, first, clean the solar panel. I did not even check my big solar panel, which is what charges my house bank. And I think it was day 2, a low battery alarm went off, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. And when I arrived that early morning, everything was fully charged because I'd been motoring. But the next day I was using power but not getting a good solar charge because like a third of the panel was covered in bird poop, like a couple big bird turds. So just fishy white. So clean the panel, monitor the Bluetooth charge controllers. My Victron Bluetooth controllers connect to my phone, and I'm able to see what I've used, what has charged. But they lost connection at some point, and to reconnect after an update or something, I had to put in the PUK number, which is on the back of the charge controller, and I was just too lazy to do that. And so, but I should have. But out there, I took the controllers off. I have 2 controllers, one for my house bank, one to recharge my dinghy battery. pulled those both off, got the PUK numbers, reconnected, and then I was able to monitor my usage using the Bluetooth. So don't be lazy. Clean your panels, stay connected to your shunt or your controllers just so you can see what's going on. And then the anchoring issue, when that yacht came and just anchored right on top of my junk, my tackle, I should have spoke up. I should have yelled at him and told him where my anchor was, where my chain was, and that I didn't have enough scope off my stern to tolerate where they were once the wind switched around. So speak up. By the time they did leave, I re-anchored, and I realized I kind of overcompensated, and I put a ton of scope out on my stern, and I had a lot of scope out on the bow, and I didn't need that much scope. And I realized that too much scope can be bad too. You just get a lot of movement and play. Fortunately, most of the boats had already left, so there was room for it. But if it was during the weekend, there wouldn't have been room. So I had to pay attention to that too. Another thing is just keep things super organized and tidy. There was one night where I kept hearing this noise, this rum, 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 and I was trying to pinpoint what it was, and I popped my head up out of the hatch and was like looking around, trying to see any movement. I'm like, what in the world is this? And then there's partly curiosity, but partly like, this isn't a normal noise, so like what could be wrong? And it wasn't until the next day that I actually found out what it was. It's just a can rolling back and forth in the box. No big deal. But I had to drink that, take care of that. So my takeaway also, like on the way back, I was kind of realizing is that just to really cherish these moments, because you don't know when something's going to be a last time. I realized Zahara wasn't on this trip with us. She's got work to do. She's busy. She's living now further away, and I didn't know that last trip with her that might be her last trip with us. Sophia happened to be there more out of coincidence because she was camping with her boyfriend, so we had a bit of a family there, me, Asila, Sophia. I didn't know that it was my last trip with my wife in that last trip we had. I didn't even know when it was the last trip on my last boat, and now I'm looking back and kind of like reliving these trips and remembering them and just really appreciating what we had. So the first boat I had was Rasher. It was a Pacific Seacraft Flicka 20. So it's a 20-foot, they call it a pocket cruiser. So for a 20-foot boat, it was quite a substantial little thing for 20 foot. It's trailerable. I never trailered it, but it's not a great family boat. So the first trip over there, I motored over at night like I normally do. It had an 8-horse, 2-stroke, and a tiller, no autopilot or anything. So I was steering through the night. Sophia was on deck sleeping, which at some point when it got real rocky, I pulled her out and had to go below. Summer was in the cockpit with me, sleeping, also sick. So I was steering then for 12 hours with Summer sick and throwing up, trying to console her, comfort her, and refueling halfway, spilling fuel all over, and then finally get there just completely exhausted. I remember jumping in the water partway across. There's still a little bit of light in the sky. Just really epic experience, like these first times. And then arriving to the island in the morning, sailing in. Getting up that morning, and we borrowed a dinghy from my brother-in-law, Jeff, and Summer kind of paddled it in with an oar, and then this picture I took of her became a painting. A lot of these little moments that to me were just real spectacular and memorable became paintings, which I think ingrained them in my mind and heart even more, because I spent all this time just reliving it as I painted it, and picking apart the details, and even though the one of Summer, just each one of her toes, and like this. Usually when you see a scene that captures your eye in real life, you're not observing toenails and every little strand of hair, but like once you painted it, it's like, now, yeah, you can't unsee those things. So yeah, that was me, Summer, and Sophie. And then we were leaving the boat there. We can't really do that anymore, but we were leaving the boat there, ferrying back, and then coming back out again. So the next trip out was the whole family. So it was Sophia, who at that time was probably 9, 10. Zahara, a year younger than her, and then Asila was probably 5. And then me and Summer, and all of us squeezed on that boat with all our gear, all our snorkeling, beach stuff, everything, food. We were cooking on the boat, sleeping on the boat, and so the V berth was mine and Summer's. The porta potty was under the V berth. Then I had one kid on the settee, one kid on the floor, one kid in the quarter berth. So at night, if anyone had to go to the bathroom, it was just like, it's not possible. It'd be too much shuffling, zero privacy. And I ended up sailing around to Cat Harbor, where there was another small boat and we borrowed it, and we had the kids sleeping in one boat, and then had the boat to ourselves. So that was became the solution that trip, and decided it's not big enough for the whole family. So in the future, we were splitting up the trips, me and Summer, or me and Summer and Sophia, and then we had Hobie. So even splitting it up, there was still some big groups. Hobie was his first experience at anchor or on a mooring. He'd had plenty of time at the harbor, on the dock. But and then we would. So those were cool trips. Me and Summer would be able to hike and do whatever we wanted, and less responsibility. Sophia had family out at the island, so she was always, busy with cousins and uncles and whatnot. And then we do like dad trips with Zahara and Asila, and I would either the boat would already be there, or I'd motor over, and then they'd come over on the ferry, or we'd come over on the ferry, and just have these epic trips where we would sail and snorkel and jump off rocks and find little coves to hang out on, hang out in, go hiking. It was really, really good. Barbecue on the boat, and the girls would just get exhausted and sunburnt and happy. It's totally happy. Of those trips, there was a lot of paintings that came out of it. I remember one of the solutions we tried after that first trip as a family, staying on the boat. We tried another solution where we would take the boat out with all our camping gear, and then camp in the campgrounds on shore. And then the boat was kind of like a hangout and our storage, and it was kind of a combo. So we'd sleep at the campgrounds, maybe do some cooking, grilling there on the fire, and then the boat was there for hanging out and sailing around and doing other things. So that was actually worked out pretty good. But we still ended up splitting up trips, and at some point there was a last trip where I came back and realized that this boat is not like a good family boat. We're doing trips separately, and it's consuming a lot of time and money and splitting the family up into pieces. So I decided to sell it, and I didn't know that, you know, at that point I didn't know that last trip was our last trip. And we had some fun and wild times. I remember one trip, the last trip back, was with the girls, Zahara and Asila. We were sailing back and kind of hit some doldrums and no wind, and we just stopped, and they swam around, and we acted like savages and just went wild, and I don't know, just wacky dad stuff. A lot of fun. But I posted that boat for sale. It was really sad because I knew there was so much potential, but just the size wasn't right, it wasn't working. And while I was posting it and kind of looking at the listings to see what else was out there, I found one in Oceanside Harbor. Perfect spot, perfect boat. And my brother-in-law convinced me to do it. He's like, you will make so many memories for your kids, and the time's running out with them. Like, you're not going to have a chance in 10 years to do that. This is your chance. So I remember kind of coming up with a conceptual idea of how to restructure my life to make that possible and make sense. And it was sell the little boat, buy the big boat, rent the house out holidays and summers, and spend our time on the big boat and have the rental house pay for that. And executed that plan. There was some timing issues where I had rented the house out already but didn't have the big boat yet. I think we're just a few days off from having the big boat, and ended up staying on Rasher. And I'm just remembering this one epic sunset, rainbow with a sunset that was super memorable. And it was just a few days before we got the big boat. I'm just like, this is a good move. I felt so good just to be in the harbor and knowing that like we're gonna be able to have a boat big enough to like live on comfortably and enjoy these types of things. So it's July 4th, 2019, got the keys to the big boat right before we left to the airport to fly to Costa Rica, where we stayed. I think it was our first time as a family staying in the new house that was just finished. I kind of felt like on top of the world, you know. At that point I had 2 boats in the harbor, brand new house built in Costa Rica, totally remodeled house in Vista. It's just like, hell yeah, doing something right. But yeah, I was able to sell Rasher and start really enjoying Brie and going as a family over to Catalina and doing all kinds of stuff with it. There's room to bring friends for the girls, and room to host groups and bring more gear to make the trips more comfortable and enjoyable. Yeah, shower on the swim step, you know, indoor showers if we needed. Has 2 bathrooms. It worked really well. Yeah. So the last trip was just kind of a reminder just to be appreciative of everything as it happens, not just looking back, you know. Enjoy it while it's happening. Just realize like this is a precious moment, that this may be a last of some sort. You know, you don't know what chapter is just about to end, what is going to happen next, whether it's better or worse, or, you know, I don't know. Nobody knows. So yeah, Zahara wasn't there this trip. A few years from now, Asila might not be coming. I might be there on my own. Might be somebody new there. Might be wonderful. Might not. But just you remember, appreciate all these little things that are happening, and they will slip through your fingers. So, all right. I have nothing more to say. I'm down in Baja right now, and I'll share some more stuff later, but have a good day.